And we are back with Harrowings live on the podcast with Dr. Gabriella. And let me see if I pronounced your last name right. Korosi? Is that correct?
Koroshi. Yeah, very
Korosi.
close. Good job.
Korosi with it. I should know that. I had a lot of friends from different countries, Hungary and other areas of this that are not Magyar, but the Slavic languages. And
Hmm.
I should know how to pronounce things, but I often flub them. My wife was always telling me about how I mispronounce things. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about, well, your life and what you're doing here. I think you're publishing as well. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yes.
So maybe we'll just let you take the microphone and tell us a little bit about what lights you up inside, because that's always interesting.
Thank you so much, Hal. And good morning, Wayne and Debbie, for joining. Thank you for joining us today. And my name is Dr. Gabriella Korosi, as Hal mentioned, and I am kind of like a person outside of the box. So I do a lot of different things.
Mhm.
I got into writing when I was a child.
Oh, he's frozen on my end. Ah, camera's going on.
Okay.
Ah, you're back.
Okay. Yeah. So we might disconnect because the connection, is not always my friend, but I'm here.
Right.
So anyway, life happened and I didn't write for a while. And I did my nursing degree in Hungary. And then I moved to the US and I did my nursing, my RN, my A degree, BS masters. I did a lot of professional writing that was, scientific.
Okay.
And after that, I was working as a nurse for a long time and did some poetry while I was working as a nurse. But the more serious writing started after I felt really strongly.
Oh,
We keep going in and out. I'm
yes.
sorry. I don't know how much of that you heard.
I heard a lot of it, and the RN, the scientific writing as well. That's very interesting to me because I was a technical writer for years after moving from conservation into that field. But nursing is very interesting as well, and we were talking a little bit before that that's sort of something you're moving out of and into the next phase. You're doing a lot of publications as well, right? Of creative writing now. Is that more what we're getting into?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I enjoy both type of writing. So I did a lot of scientific writing. And when I was working in addiction, I really felt like the stories of the people have to be told, but also not just the stories of the people who are struggling with addiction, but the family members, the nurses, the social workers. I wanted to create a whole picture. So my first book, Addiction Uncovered, was about me interviewing over 50 people, including people in my family and myself, my experiences as my family members. Some of them went through addiction. And I just felt that was really beautiful, beautiful to sit and listen to these stories. And I worked in that book from 2013 to 2019. When I finished my PhD, I had time between looking for jobs to finish that book. And that book really started my writing career and my publishing career. Up to now I think I published 16 books,
Wow.
and some of them I published myself, but I have done a lot of collaboration after I started my publication, Dancing Elephant Press, that I figured out how to publish, and I seen a lot of writers struggling with that and getting their name out there as an author.
That's me.
That's a separate conversation about that.
Right.
I'm
We should
happy to help
definitely
you
talk
too.
about that.
But,
I would
but
love.
I made basically connections all over the world, and I helped writers become authors, and we published books together. Some books have 21 writers. Some of them is just two of us. Some of them there's 5 or 10 of us. So I just build connections around the world. Literally, almost every country I can go and visit one of my writers.
That's so.
So I just I just love that, and I love talking to people and creating these videos and build connections, and yeah, that's my true love. Nursing, I'm a little burned out.
Well, you mentioned that earlier. I'm glad you're willing to say it out loud because a lot of us get burned out in our careers. Me, I was an enterprise architect doing different contracts with the federal government for years. And then the
Yeah.
TSA one sort of dropped out from under me. And my father had died. And my mother had gone into assisted living after a bad fall on the stairs in their home that they had been in for 47 years. And I had wanted to curate my father's legacy, to some extent and republish some of his works actually. So that's one of the things that Harrowings is sort of a publishing arm for that, although it's
Oh,
just
wonderful.
right. um Among other things, my father was writing a lot of articles, and I think they should be bundled up and book published one of these days.
I
um
would be very happy to help you with that.
I think it would be a very interesting project because so many of them are,
Yeah.
and some of them need some rewriting, some editing, some
Mhm.
improvement. Though the editor of the Colonial Williamsburg Journal was quite good. My father was a consulting editor. He sort of do the fact check
Mhm.
for Wayne. Oh gosh, I'm going to forget Wayne's name now. But anyway, the fellow was responsible for the concept of the Smithsonian Magazine before coming to the Colonial
Mhm.
Williamsburg Journal
Oh,
and
nice.
starting to work on that area. And it was just a really interesting life that they led there. Preserving historic trades is a big part of it. There, some of the
Oh,
Coopers.
nice. I love that.
My friend Jim up here is straight from one of the breweries over in England, in London, where he traditionally apprenticed as a cooper for making different casks of different forms, and then came to Williamsburg to preserve the 18th century trade with his brother George. Jim's still around. George is passed, but I had the opportunity to be with all these different people. So you're talking about making connections, and then you talked about
Yeah,
addiction, which is also near and dear to my heart. As a recovering alcoholic, I um, believe that really the solution to that is connection, and a lot of what people
absolutely.
look for in that is a sense of being alive that Joseph Campbell talks about so beautifully, and that intensity, that feeling of being out on the edge of things and looking into the void and having the void stare back at us, right? Or screaming at
Yeah.
the void as you look into the abyss and the abyss stares back. I always get my abysses and my voids mixed up, but we're all heading into that direction. And there was a lovely book written by Jack London. You're probably familiar with it already, called John Barleycorn. You know that novel that he wrote?
No, I don't know. No.
And in it, there's a passage in which he talks about sitting up with John Barleycorn, the embodiment of alcohol, right? And getting the white logic of John Barley.
Mhm.
That feeling that you see the world with a jaundiced eye, exactly as it is, no illusions. A lot of us strive for that kind of thing where we can see the world exactly as it is and then say yes to it, as opposed
Yes.
to jumping off the edge of that void and, like so many who suffer from,
Mhm.
they never come back from it. It's
Yeah.
killing so many people with the drugs that we have here as well, OxyContin. I was talking with a friend recently about how we have the American Museum of Asian Art here. Beautiful stuff. It's the Arthur M. Sackler Gallery attached to it. And so Sacklers were responsible for OxyContin. They got sued massively and had to pay billions of dollars in reparations now for the way in which that drug was marketed as
Yeah.
a safe opioid.
I
Where
have to say I'm way too familiar with this topic.
I'm sure, and that's why I wanted to
Yeah.
open it up and let you talk about it a little bit.
Yeah.
I've already announced that I'm in recovery, but I'm not an expert. I'm not somebody who
Yeah.
treats it, but you have some knowledge there. So whatever you'd like to contribute to that thread, I'd be interested in hearing about if you're comfortable.
Well, I can talk about addiction forever as I have been an addiction nurse, inpatient, outpatient, and as from a public health perspective, and as from my family. The In my addiction book, how I look at addiction is looking at a hummingbird. The hummingbird's going really, really, really fast,
Hmm.
and that's how I look at addiction. The world is different, like from a perspective of a hummingbird. If they don't fly that fast, they die.
Hmm.
In addiction, the brain get hijacked and reality get distorted. And many times people are not able to focus on their own needs because they just go after that next fix. But the need for that is because either something happened in their life, or uncontrolled by them, somebody got them hooked on a drug that all that they can think about is the next fix,
Right.
or there's a major trauma or genetics, or is something happening in childhood. There's Even me in a beginning, I was judgmental about people who were addicted to alcohol and drugs until I learned more about it and until I started to work with them and recovered so much pain. I believe nobody wants to be an addict. There's a reason that um, life takes people there. And I do believe that we need a community of support people to get out of it. And it's not just inpatient and it's not just treatment. It is a weave of connection, which is my new series of books.
Okay.
Um, Sorry for that little promo there.
I love it.
but
Yeah.
but we need the people to keep being there for each other. And instead of putting people down, lift people up and say, what really happened there? Get to know the person and support them. Because my uncle died when he was 19 because of an alcohol related car accident. It ruined the family. You know, I wish I could have been there. I wish the family could have been there more for him and pulled him out of that opportunity. Why was he even alone in this car that was driving so fast that he flew out of and ended up dead at age 19, the
Yeah.
whole life ahead of him. I feel addiction brings also it's almost like shows how society is. We are so disconnected in society. And if we can connect in society and embrace each other and show love and kindness and support for each other, I believe the stress, the anxiety, the depression, which are symptoms, and people go into addiction because of loneliness, because of pain that they can't share and don't have the support and the coping skills and the emotional regulation and all those things to help with that, you know? So definitely we need to be there for each other. And unfortunately, capitalism and making money seem to be more important than caring for people, right?
Right.
So
Agree.
if we don't make money on treatment, God forbid, maybe we could help people, right? I worked in treatment and I got out of it really quick because it was all about money, not about the people. And this it was so upsetting for me, you know,
Well, yeah. The
because
problem.
we should care about the person, not about, okay, can we make money on this drug or can we make money on this, you know, disease, right? Yeah. Sorry, I can get really fired up about this.
And I love that you got fired up about it. I'm fired up about it too, and I'll tell you why. I mean, I first came into, the idea of alcohol being a problem for me in 1983. I was 20 years old, a year older than your brother or your uncle was.
Mhm.
Died. And I could have easily died as well. I stopped drinking abruptly. I've been drinking pretty much every day for, well, at least that whole summer. And I had some great,
Mhm.
experiences with alcohol that way. And that was my main thing was alcohol. It was hard to get the other stuff, but I would do other things on occasion, but never the opioids, thank God. But I'm sure I would have been sucked into that just as easily. Let me just tell a little bit of my story backwards. This little symbol up here is for the Colonial Williamsburg Fife and Drum Corps. At 11, I joined that organization, and it was 1974. And you know what our culture was like in 1974. And the older boys taught the younger ones. And by the time I was 15, I was introduced to alcohol and marijuana.
Mhm.
The marijuana didn't interest me near as much as the Budweiser, though. And I would get it whenever I could after that. And by the time I was 20, I could get it all the time because the laws were such.
Mhm.
Drank pretty much at the age of 18 at that point. They moved it to 21 for the hard stuff. But anyway, didn't matter. I was going to be able to get it anyway because people didn't think it was a big deal. Now, the World
Yeah.
Health Organization has recently come out with a statement of the safe amount of alcohol for human consumption being, guess what? None at all.
0. Yes.
And I think that's largely
It's
based on
because it's
carcinogenic.
because it's a carcinogenic, and that's many people, they don't know that. Yeah.
Right. And why don't they know it? Well, probably because people are suppressing it. There's an industry behind it, the making money part.
Money.
Yeah.
Money.
And that's in the treatment facilities too. So what happened to me though at 20 was I stopped drinking abruptly and I stopped sleeping as a result. As you may know, that a lot of times when people who are chronic alcoholics stop drinking, their GABA apparently gets all messed up, doesn't come back from vacation to, shut down the neural impulses and allow you to sleep. And I was kind of fascinated. So I kept a record of it. And I slept in cat naps and had about 30 hours of sleep over 30 days. By which time I was trying to throw a party down at the Kingsmill Marina when the Coast Guard Auxiliary had already booked the place. And the James City County Police took a form of a power greater than myself, I like to say, and stuffed me into the maximum security ward of Eastern State Hospital, where the doctors gave me a very polite diagnosis that they could treat with medications.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very common. I have not suffered from the diagnosis they gave me, which was bipolar disorder, in a long time, and apparently didn't have it ever, according to the doctors I have these days. And I do try to, pay attention to what the medical professionals have to say about it. But what I wanted to point out too is in the chat, I put in a little link here to crackedupmovie.com that I helped fund a little bit, and that I try to get out there wherever I can. You're slipped away again, but there you. That's great. Cracked Up Movie was made about 2019, I think it was released, and it was out on Netflix for a while. It's about the life of Daryl Hammond, the Saturday Night Live actor, and it's about trauma-informed care and what a difference that made in his life after being multiply misdiagnosed. And she's gone again. Maybe we'll get her back. Hope. But in any case, crackedupmovie.com, I highly recommend that people see or just go to the site. There's tons of resources out there about trauma-informed care because like Gabriella was telling us a few moments ago, and now she is coming back again, I think. We hope. Yes, you're back. And thank you for making your way back. I was telling them that crackedupmovie.com has a lot of resources. And when I saw it screened here in 2019 in DC at the Child Advocacy Center's annual conference, the director and Daryl Hammond were both out at Congress lobbying for trauma-informed care to be introduced into legislation when people going in for treatment should be getting trauma-informed care as part of that package legally. I think it's important because you were pointing out why people go to addiction. For me, it was a matter of peers were doing it already. Mm-hmm. And I had a genetic predisposition to become alcoholic. As soon as I tasted this stuff, I was like, this is the solution to what ails me. And a lot of it's anxiety. It was treating my anxiety. And later in years, because I didn't stay sober from the time I first got into the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous, which I was introduced to in 1985 for the first time, 40 years ago. I didn't stay sober. And a lot of it was because I didn't find it attractive. And what's nice about that fellowship, that weave of connections, is that it does exist. It is available to anybody, and it's free, pretty much. I mean, throw $1 in the basket if you have it, but if you don't, who cares? Nobody really cares. Or if they do, they're really not on the beam. So I don't know. I have a lot of different perspectives. I've had a lot of experience on this. And as a sufferer, not so much as a person who is trying to um, do the recovery thing in terms of, detoxes. But aside from, coming in with my service sponsor to the St. Francis Detox in Pittsburgh from time to time, carrying the message in there. I do think it's worth talking about. I don't talk about it a lot. I think this is the first time I've really talked about it on a podcast to any great extent. Lovely to see a heart fly up there. Thank you for that. And Gabriella, let me give you the microphone back to you now that your internet's a little more stable, and take it from the wherever. You're frozen. I just see your picture. So, can you tell me a little bit more your perspective?
Yeah, and I just want to acknowledge Phyllis, who is a dear friend, said this is so important for people during the pressure of the holidays. Thank you. We shared the recording. Phyllis, I agree. I think pressure and peer pressure, right? What we talked about community, that the community was not able to support people enough not to have to feel that anxiety that you have to do, because what if you don't? Oh my God, somebody will not like me. Well, who cares, right? Who cares who like you or who doesn't like you? But we do have that pressure in society. And instead of supporting the genuine you, that you, Gil, you are amazing and beautiful and perfect the way you are, there is this societal pressure that no, you have to do this or you have to do that, or to be perfect. We are perfect, imperfectly perfect. We are unique human beings, right? And if we work more on that, shedding that positivity, that kindness, that love toward for each other, I think we can achieve more with connection and support than that. Medications are really helpful, but just throwing a medication at something, or throwing, saying you have to do this to get sober, or get to that sober, that's just part of it. Part of it is the bigger picture in society and how we treat each other as human beings. Instead of focusing on money and all these kind of things, focus on each other, build genuine connections. So if you have a problem, you can say, Gabriella, I need to talk to you about something. And we discuss it. And
Yes, you're frozen again. So I'm going to pick up the microphone for a moment. I hope that I'm not stepping on what you're saying. Now you're frozen. So, yes, and community here on Substack can be a big part of that. I haven't really stumbled into a recovery community on Substack as such. I think Gabriella will be back as soon as she's able. But I do believe there are people in recovery on here. Some of us have outed ourselves, as I've done on this one. And I've done it a little bit in my writing as well. You'll hear, a bit about it, but doesn't really define me. I have it as a background, as a foundation stone of my life, that I am sober and that I then try to help others achieve sobriety. And it's really based on just one person who has it working with another without any expectation of anything in return. And that, I think, is so key to the whole thing, right, folks? That we try to give of ourselves without expectation, without it being always a transaction, without it being extractive. Whereas I give to you so I can extract something for myself from you. Don't want that. I do think that it's wonderful when people are paid subscribers. So I try to give something back in equal value, which is, to my mind, being a member of my board of directors. And that's my deal. It's that this is the Harold B. Gill Foundation, LLC's publishing arm. It's a business of sorts. And I certainly give away most of it for free at this point. I put a little foot behind the paywall, and I've set it up so things that are 12 weeks old or older are behind the paywall and accessible only to the paid subscribers who are 17 in number. That's a good start. We can grow from there. I think everyone has the opportunity to use Substack as a new economic engine for culture generally, but we can also, focus in on different things like this. And I just realized I owe Sunny Triple an invitation. So I'm going to invite you, Sunny. You just logged in, and let me find my button for doing that. Let's see. Sunny, I know you're watching, and I forgot entirely that I owe you a talk. I'm trying to find invite guests. There you are. Let's get you in here. Can you do that, Scummy? Just tell me if you can't. If you can, that'd be great because my guest has dropped and has connection problems. So she'll be back, I expect. But there you go, Sonny. I haven't sent you an invite, I believe. Yeah, we're waiting for you to join. So it would be lovely to have you. I want to talk to you a little bit about what was going on at the 8x10. I did catch Great Gig in the Sky. Somebody recorded it. Sound quality is a little rough from the background noise of the crowd. It's shot from the balcony. You may have seen it already. So I've sent you an invitation to join. And sorry about my forgetfulness. Any case, now set that in the chat too. Anyway, we're not having Sunny back. We're not having Gabriella rejoining yet. Sorry about her internet connection not being all it should be, perhaps, for doing these things, but maybe she'll be back in time. I might send her another invite as well. This is Dr. Gabriella Korosi, who is a nurse as well as a doctor, and particularly in healthcare areas, and has been talking a lot about the recovery community and how the need for connection is there. I don't know how involved she is with the traditional 12-step programs that are out there, but many of people are. And if you are and want to join in and converse with me about these things, I'll send you an invitation, Gabriella. Why is that not working? Whoops, that's not what I need to do it in. I need to do it over here. I'll send her another invite. She may not be able to get in because she needed another invite. That's always possible. That can be frustrating, right? But, Harrowings can be harrowing just to try to run it and have everybody join in. So, Sunny, you've got an invite. Gabriella Korosi has an invite. And we're waiting and we're seeing if anybody else can join. But it's not all that bad to have a short one. Does anybody have anything you want to contribute besides peace, love, and meta, which I love? Love is meta, loving kindness. Peace and meta, the bathrobe guy usually offers us. Just throw it in the chat if you have an interest in joining the conversation. I can go on, and I often do. Actually, one of the books I picked up is actually a very nice Taschen book by, the name is Kikan Masara. It's on the 12 steps, and it's beautifully illustrated, as many of these Taschen books are. Here we have somebody. Gabriella is back. Thank you for rejoining.
I went into my computer because for some reason my phone decided that it's not going to work.
And Sunny managed to get in too. I'd like to introduce Sunny Triple, my vocal coach, who I work with regularly. And, that was a brief process of working through things, is to sing. So, Sunny, welcome.
Hello.
Gabriella is out on the left coast. Oregon, is it, or Washington State? Where are you, Gabriella? I forget.
I am in Oregon, Astoria, Oregon.
Astoria, Oregon. Okay, great.
Oh.
We have an Oregon connection out there, too. I don't think I've had you, Sunny, over on KSKQ radio, but down in Ashland, Oregon, I don't know where that is relative to Astoria, but it's down in the Rogue Valley in southern Oregon. There's a little radio station down there I tune into quite often on Fridays. And on Mondays with this morning show by Holly Lloyd Adams. I got connected to that through David Gantz, who's also been a guest here with Sunny. Sunny and I both tag team David Gantz, who hosts the Grateful Dead Hour since like 1984. And I'm rather fond of King Crimson, as you may have noticed. It's on my T-shirt here. So Sonny and I have worked through a lot of King Crimson, yeah, sort of get through grief processing. And yeah, my wife finds King Crimson gives her grief whenever I have it on. It's an acquired taste. So we were talking about addiction, and we were talking about recovery, and we were talking about community and connection. And those were the topics. So, Gabriella, now that you're back, let me give you the microphone again while you're still connected. All about connection.
So, what would you like me to talk about? We can talk more about addiction, but I also would love to talk a little bit about writing.
Please.
And I, I think that's one of my creative outlet. I also enjoy creating art and being close to nature. And my most recent book, which I just published this month with Gabriella Tatar, who is in Hungary, and really interesting. We are both Gabriellas.
Another
She and I are both
Gabriella.
Gabriellas. Yes, and she used to live in Romania, moved to Hungary. I used to live in Hungary, and I moved to the US. And then we connected through writing, right? So that's what I was talking about, creating connections. And I had an injury this past April when I was visiting a writer friend who I met. I was visiting her in India, and I had a major fall and a traumatic brain injury. And I broke multiple parts of my ankle. So in the recovery process and my healing process with the brain, I couldn't write anymore. I couldn't even look at a computer screen. So instead of my writing, it becomes speech. So we started to do nature walks together, because nature is one of the most important things in healing what I have recovered throughout my life. So to that time to heal my brain, I was really pulled to nature. And I don't know if you know that the trees and the plants around us, they create chemicals that makes us feel good. So when we go out to nature and do do a walk in the forest, the trees, they release pesticides for them. It's actually calming to the human brain. So it's not just that they release oxygen for us, they actually released chemicals that calm our brain. So for me, getting back to nature, touching earth, gardening, talking about nature, walking was really healing. So what we have done for like 6 or 7 months, when we could, just impromptu, we connected and did a nature walk. So she was in Hungary or traveling through different countries. I just stayed close as much as I can, because of my injuries, I couldn't go really far, mostly just locally. But we had these wonderful conversations like what we have here.
Yes.
And then now we created a book from that. So we took the transcripts of the conversations that we had across the continents, wherever she visited and wherever I was, went through the transcripts and added other things, like added little recipes, added little tips. And now the Weaving Connection series is started. And that is the first book, Nature Walk Across Continents. So that's out right now, both in print and an ebook.
Nature
And
Walk
I'm
Across.
very happy with it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
During quarantine, I love that you did that, because during quarantine, we all had ideas, or we were all trying to come up with things to connect. And I started a Facebook page called Walk Around and Find Out. People were using the F around and find
Oh, really?
out a lot at the time.
I love that.
I thought Walk Around and Find Out would be a cool place for people to stream their walks.
Mm-hmm.
And, share whatever the walks were. I didn't pursue it heavily. I started another page doing something else called Stream of Consciousness, and really dove into that. So the walk around
Mm-hmm.
took off or anything, but I love to hear that you were doing that and more, and then wrote about it. How did you keep transcripts? Did you keep your I know that sometimes when I'm on with people on Zoom, I can keep the subtitles going, and then I can have AI capture all of that if I want to, and I can keep those transcripts. How did you keep your transcripts from your walks?
Substack.
Oh,
So
okay.
when you do a live on Substack and you post it, it gives you the transcript. So
Right.
it's not perfect, right? But it gives you, let's say, 90% accuracy. And then we went back and we took out all those things that you would say, and, expanded them a little bit. So it did took a lot of editing, for like a few weeks worth of editing.
Oh,
But yeah,
awesome.
we just took the transcripts, and those were the basis how we started the book. And we had 7 months worth of material. So we had, it's a 200 some pages a book.
Quite an
And then we added some things to it. And we took some stuff out. And we also Gabby created this little cute characters. So we like little cartoon characters as we talk to each other. So instead of saying, Gabriella said this and or other Gabriella said that would be kind of confusing. We have little cartoon characters when we say something. It's super cute.
Wow.
Got a mass of hearts there too, I noticed. And Sonny, you're absolutely right. Walk around and find out. Mine's the passing show, which I do out here in DC. And it's not really a nature walk so much because I don't live in nature, but I can go, I can go down to the park. I did one with Bathrobe Guy, who's also on here. I don't know if you all can see the chat over here on the side, but he's saying he loves Hal's walks, especially in the morning while I'm having my two
Nice.
for the day. I'll go down to the daily provisions and have my egg and cheese, and it's like someplace they know my name now. And that's
Yeah.
an important thing, right? We've got a community of
You're
people.
building community.
Yeah, and we're
Yes.
building community on Substack too, and that's one of the things I think is really beautiful. I wanted to give Sunny a little plug too. She was at the 8x10 not too long ago. What was it, December 5th?
It was.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we were doing a benefit for Ron Holloway, who's a saxophone player, is pretty well known in the field.
Yeah.
I've seen him play with a lot of different people over the years, and his own band, Ron Holloway Band. But he's fallen on hard times, as a lot of us do, and we need that connection, right, Gabriella, with one another. He's in a nursing facility
Absolutely.
now, and they need to. And he basically being a gigging musician, I guess he probably didn't have health insurance, and it's expensive, right, to be cared for in our society.
So thank you for supporting that evening, and another one as well, Hal.
I see somebody there.
That night, we raised over $4,000 for him, and then the other night at the Hamilton, you supported both. Thank you. I don't know what the other number was, but he has, huge medical bills because he's in a full-time care facility, and when you're a resident in that kind of space, it adds up very, very quickly.
And before you joined us, we were talking about how capitalism tends to just run people ragged, just the quest for money and our obsession with it in our culture. I lived in Denver for a couple of years, and there, people didn't worry too much about catastrophic illnesses, or their support system was. It appeared to me anyway, in living there a couple of years, much better than ours. Their just lifestyle was much healthier, and there was less of that anxiety I was talking about, which is one of my primary things I used substances to treat my ongoing anxiety. These days I use meditation. It gives me exactly what alcohol used to. It allows me to step back. And I was talking earlier, Sonny, about the white logic of John Barleycorn, where you can step back and see through a jaundiced eye the world just like it is. Jack London came up with that in his novel called John Barleycorn, which is a personification of the spirit of alcohol. In any case, Jack London died of alcoholism, as so many did. And his book, John Barleycorn, was used by the Prohibition movement. And we all know prohibition doesn't really work. What does work? Well, we were talking with Gabriella about a connection. And now you published this book. You had this connection across the continent. Your friend was in Hungary, is that correct? The other guy?
Yeah, she's
Romania,
in
Hungary. Yeah.
And it's just so interesting, how people connect, like how you and I connected, and we don't really know each other, but I feel that we're gonna do great things together, and it's so interesting that you know you had this idea of the nature walks, but somehow manifested, and Gabriella and I had the same idea of the nature walks. And I love doing the same thing. It's just like wherever I am, do little videos, put it up on YouTube or something when I see positive, even if it's just 15 seconds of a beautiful flower. I'm going to put it up there and see if somebody else wants to enjoy that, because why not? Why not spread that positivity, kindness, and support for each other? There's so many bad things already out there in the world, right? We don't need to spread that, but we can spread the joy and the connection with each other. So,
right. I want to bring up that thing about the trees too. And that a lot of them are connected by fungi, right? The
yes.
mycelia of the fungi underneath the surface. Are you familiar with the work of Paul Stamets?
No.
Ring a bell? No. He did a film. He was the main guy, I guess, talking about it as a mycologist, self-taught, pretty much. And the film was called Fantastic Fungi. So I highly recommend it. I put it in the chat before.
I do know some of that. I'm bad at remembering people, but I'm familiar with the work, and I understand mushrooms and trees and the connections of the roots and how they support each other. Many times the mushrooms support the roots of the trees, but also the roots of the trees themselves, they connect and prevent each other from falling, right? And if we could do the same thing as humans, connect and prevent from each other falling, we can learn a lot from trees. Just saying.
Exactly. There's an intelligence to nature. And one of the things I've been really high on since I got my little AI chops going was to talk to my chatbots about how you can realize the greatest happiness for the greatest number of species on the planet. Because we are one species, bipedal primate, and we treat ourselves as though somehow we are over and beyond everybody else, right?
And we are not.
Species. We're very dependent on them, for God's sakes. If my gut bacteria get messed up, I am messed up. And there's an intelligence in the gut. There's an intelligence from those beings that are living within us that depend on us for sustenance. I don't even want to think about all of the parasites that exist on our bodies. When it comes down to it, we are very myopic as a nation. We can wake each other up, though.
Yeah, I love that tree. I love that you just went out to nature and showing that tree.
Yeah,
and one of my favorite things is to do, if I can share, is that when I go out to nature barefoot, and I'm standing between two trees, and I put my hands on both of the trees and my feet touching the earth. And I just close my eyes and focus on the energy. And you can feel this circle of energy. Oh, there you go. And you can feel that circle of energy with you. And I do believe, and I feel the energy flow between humans and trees and animals and plants. If you slow down and focus on your environment and nature, then you can feel that connection with everything.
Yes, when we are connected to everything. My old physical trainer, who Sonny also knows. You remember Lisa Joy, Sonny?
Of course.
All right. And she would say, when you're breathing in, you're pulling the farthest star towards you. And breathing out, you're pushing in.
There's a helicopter.
Yeah.
Black ops. In my neighborhood, you really have that. I live in Washington, D.C., down the trenches, and I get those helicopters over top of me all the time. I'm
near the Potomac River, and they fly by way of it, to get back and forth from DC to
Pentagon.
To the golf courses of Loudoun County is usually
about that.
What that route is all about.
My wife was just telling me there's something up about the municipal golf courses in D.C. becoming under the control of the executive branch. I don't want to go there. But I like to be where there's like the hub of activity. I lived in Copenhagen, Denmark for a couple of years down not too far from the city center. It was lovely in some ways because you would see the prime minister something or other come out say no comment to the reporters, hop on their bicycle and pedal off into the night. A totally different ethos than what we have over here, where I get motorcades streaming by. Let's get back to your nature, and let's get back to connection. And what else is going on your side, Gabriella? You're my guest here, primary, and Sunny is somebody I'm standing up from an appointment I had with her at noon that I forgot about.
But I love
here.
that,
I love
like I had to get out of my phone, so I couldn't go out to nature to touch a tree and do that. But Sunny did that, so thank you so much for that, because the connection is not always great here in the Pacific Northwest with all the cloud and all the rain coverage and all that. I just
moved
love
in October, and I didn't have too much nature before that. So to hear
Okay.
your background talk about something that you're a doctor, you're a nurse, you have all of this, these things that you've studied about wellness, right? And
Yeah.
recovery. And to then put in action for yourself something to connect, to reach out is the first part of connection, to connect, to reach out and connect with one other person, and then take that, and as Hal calls it, then amplify that, amplify that healing, that opportunity for people to see the example, read about your experience, to connect. It's really uplifting. I love it.
Thank you so much.
When you first met Gabriella, like, what was? Did you know?
This
Did you
is the first
know that
time
it
we're
would become a book?
Well, Jessica Ann had posted something.
No, I meant when Gabriella met Gabriella. I was asking
Oh,
Gabriella.
met
But yeah, that
Gabriella.
makes sense
Okay,
that you would think I was asking you about
me.
Gabriella. I
Got
meant,
it.
so sorry.
Mistake.
Although I'd like to know that also. Sorry.
No problem. So we met through writing. We met through writing on Medium and Substack. So, and then she became an editor in my publication, Dancing Elephant Press. So that's how we met, that we wrote together. And that's how most of the people who I build connections with, I meet people here too, and across the world when you travel and things like that. But the deepest connections in the last 5 years that I had is people who I met as writers, because we wrote together, we read each other's stories, and then people who you resonate with, then you connect with them and start to have some lives and Zooms and, Google Meets. And I also created a women's group and all those things. And then we were just talking one day and said, we both love nature and we both love nature walks, and we felt like that was really healing. And just as an impromptu session, let's try it out. Let's try it out right now. Let's do Substack Live and see how it works. And we just went online and started it. Like, it was not planned. It was an unplanned thing again. And people joined and had fun. So we just kept going. Yeah.
Can I ask you specifically if at that point you had a schedule? Did you time block it? Did you have a scheduled walk with her, a regular walk, or did you just do it when, hey, are you available? Let's do it now.
Yep,
it was kind
exactly.
of
It was all the time. We originally were going to do it every week, and then life happened. So when we had time, and there's a 9-hour difference between here and Hungary too, right? And then she has 3 boys, and I work and all those kind of things. Not anymore, but then I did. But, so we just did when we could. When we had 10 minutes or 15 minutes to go out to nature, we did.
Well, for years during quarantine, I had 2 guys that I did live streams with. That was the other thing that I really poured myself into. And we did not have the schedule, but we wanted to do it all of the time. So we did. Sometimes we'd do it every day. Sometimes we'd do it for 9 or 10 hours. We'd go, like, it was kind of, sometimes we became very obsessive with it. And we'd invite people to come along sometimes. But I can see how you wouldn't necessarily need the schedule for something like that, because it drives you sometimes to when you want to do something that's, so great.
And you just have to be flexible, life happens, right? So we sometimes we plan to get together, and then just like today, the internet connection didn't work. Many times it broke off, like when I was deep in the forest, there was no connection. So I had to walk back out of the forest to get a connection,
Yeah, I guess that's probably
and there was a few times when we had to stop. She kept going, but then she said, well, I guess Gabriella cannot connect back anymore. So it was a shorter thing. And vice versa, so we just did the best we could, and we enjoyed ourselves. And then we hope whoever tuned in or saw the YouTube videos later or now going to read the book, going to get just as much enjoyment from it what we did. And that's the whole idea, just to share that connection we had with each other and nature.
Have you seen the passing show? Have you seen Hal's walks? Did that resonate with you? Were you like, oh, there's the concrete jungle of like, there's that city nature. We've got city nature over here. I'm just on the outskirts of town, so I've got nature, but I also know, the
I've got Rock
city
Creek
nature.
Park, honey.
Yes, that's true. Oh man, Rock Creek Park is
go down
absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, and it's quite often the Taft Bridge that looks down into the park, and there are hawks. Yeah. Anyhow, you were saying, I don't think.
Well, I was wondering if Gabriella has seen you.
I was going to say, but go ahead, Gabriella. You can tell her.
We just connected, like literally last week.
Well, check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure that he hasn't seen all my nature walks and all the stuff I'm doing. It was like one of those things that he reached out and I said, yes, it's just, this is like,
it was lovely.
A connection meant to be. And I
had to scramble
and see where it goes.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But it was because Jessica Ann had done something, and she's got a book out now. What's her book called again? And she's got her own publishing thing going on as well. Oh God, my brain is so not tracking.
Yeah, she just put out a novel. I can't think of the name of it, but it's all over Substack. Yeah.
Yeah, and she is getting people together a lot. Jessica Ann is, and I forget where she is too. She's in the Central Time Zone, I'm pretty sure. But she actually reached out to me, Jessica Ann did. This is how these ripple effects work, right, Sonny? The one thing leads to another. Yeah.
Sure.
And it's that she reached out to me for a one-on-one call, like offline, not on Substack. And I said yes, and we managed to connect. I think I missed the first one because I forgot. And that happens to me sometimes if I don't put it on my calendar, or even if I do put it on my calendar, like I forgot you this morning. And I forgot to tell you, I've got this.
Oh, I was worried.
Instead. I'm not dead. Not yet.
I was worried only because you're so punctual and you're so reliable that I was like, oh no. And so like, I saw Bill is live right now, and I was like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah. You're cheating on me with.
Let's take a look. No, it's great. This is awesome.
But it's perfect. It's just meant to be this way, because now both you and I are here, and I hear about your nature walks and you hear about mine, and I'm sure we're going to have something together too.
Yeah, and I've been writing in the chat about Sonny's work, and I've been writing Dancing Elephant Press in here, that you have that publishing company, which is confusing to some people. I think, this what? Like, well.
Yeah, I'm reading a little bit.
Well, there's a story behind that too.
So
now,
I want to
correct
hi
me if I'm
everyone.
wrong, Sonny. I want to get your information right. I say Sonny Triple leads Walking in the Air and is lead singer of Psycho Killers. She is a frequent guest vocalist with Better Off Dead, Legion of Jerry, and Jerry Tripsters, right?
Sometimes I've with Better Off Dead, and only maybe once with Jerry Tripsters. But yes, all of that other stuff. Walking in the Air, Psycho Killers, and other projects. Sonny Triple's Friends Unlimited, different projects. Yes. But those two are the main ones. Thank you.
The thing is, Sonny Triple and Friends Unlimited is got a lovely acronym of STFU.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is
and I'm a voice instructor. I'm a vocal coach and a voice instructor for people
love that.
Who sing, and also for people who speak frequently. Like we all do. But I work on deep diaphragmatic breathing or tone or storytelling and these kinds of things. So that's, in addition to being a performer, I'm also a coach, a vocal coach.
And you've worked a lot with senior centers, correct?
Yes, and adults with lifelong disabilities too. I love music. Yeah. So I love
what music really helped to heal my brain. So thank you for all that you're doing. And I love singing. And I was always told that I can't sing. and I have a terrible voice, but I love singing anyway. So I'm still singing anyway. No, I don't care who says what. I love
Keep
singing, so I'm
singing.
going to sing.
Keep
Yeah.
singing.
Traumatic brain awareness is really important. A lot of people have it and don't know they have it necessarily.
Yes.
You had a brain injury when you broke your ankle so badly, which gave me sympathy pain, by the way. Thank you for that. It was too much empathy, I think. Anyhow, talk to me about that brain injury a little bit, because that's really interesting to me, and I think might be interesting to other people.
But I didn't really know that I had it. It happened like the last night before we left India in one of the most iconic and spiritual place that's possible in New Delhi. I don't know. It's where the Qatar is, where there's also that amazing iron pole and beautiful arch and all kinds of things. So it's almost felt like I'd fallen through this threshold. There was this beautiful arch that was part of a church, and I was looking up at it. It was at night because they had intricate carvings, and I was taking a step and did not see that they were steps down. I taken a step and went down like within a second. And I think I got knocked out for a little bit. I hit my head, my whole right side. I didn't know at that point my wrist got like distorted and swollen up like 3 times as big as it was. So we thought it was broken. And then I didn't even know or comprehend what was going on in all my body because there was just so much pain. So we didn't even know that my ankle had multiple issues until much later because my brain was not fully with it, right? And I get hauled off by a wheelchair. I got like emergency care right there by people, and then I got hauled off in a wheelchair, and they took me to emergency room where they done all these things, but I was not able to fully comprehend them, what was going on. I was just trying to be, my spouse who was with me, just stay awake, stay awake, stay awake, stay awake, and I literally thought that I died. I thought that I died right there on that arch. And I still feel like part of me, which is a book I'm working on, it's going to be a part of the Leading Connection. I feel like part of me, it's almost like a shell of me, is still there. It stayed there in India. It's almost like when you shed a skin, like part of me is there. I can feel that part of me. That part of me is gone because I'm forever changed since then. For months, I had no emotions. I couldn't do much. I just slept and went through occupational therapy. So I started music therapy that they modulate the music specifically to create new connections in your brain. And I didn't know what was going to happen. So I had to kind of like rebuild my life. And in the beginning, I was just like, okay, sleep, eat, go to the bathroom, take a shower, those type of things. And then go out to nature, and do that. And then I started to things to make with the hands. The occupational therapist said, the more things you make with the hands, it's going to make you feel better. Do the things that you enjoy and that will help you to rebuild your brain. So I started to make paper. Nothing else made sense in the world. I started to make paper. So I put pieces of paper together and created paper.
Sometimes when I
from
think
scraps.
about Oregon, I think that's what people in Oregon do. Go on. I think Oregon's so artsy. I just think it's so artsy. I'm on the East Coast, but I didn't mean to interrupt. But it
I'm
just
gonna
made
show
me
you.
smile when you said it.
I made paper.
That's awesome.
Yeah, cool.
I love it.
That's very.
I just made all kinds of little papers, different colors. I built screens, and nothing else made sense at that point. Just to walk in nature, make paper, create art. So I painted, I made paper, I created art, and slowly I was able to start to look at the screen again. I was able to have conversations and, came back to this world.
Yes.
For a long time as well. And this is still not perfect. I had no emotions at all. Like I could not have sadness. I could not have happiness. I could not have excitement. I felt like a mini psychopath, honestly. And I didn't know if I'm ever going to be able to love, if I'm ever going to be able to feel anything again.
Yes.
And my understanding from what I was told from my occupational therapist, it's the brain protecting itself from the extremes so it can heal. So I have now emotions sometimes, and sometimes I get like a whole bunch of them, and I don't know what happens. All of a sudden, I'm just super sad, and I don't know why, and start crying for no apparent reason. That is still the post-concussion and brain injury symptom. So,
Yep.
yeah, it was really traumatic. I'm still learning. It's still evolving. It's still changing. Right now, it impacted my writing because I cannot just sit down and type and write. So I speak the words, and that's how the nature book came about, because we just
The transcripts.
talking is easier, being on the screen is easier than sitting down and typing. And then I use my transcripts when I speak. So I go out in the morning and I say the words that come to me and I record them, and then I transcribe them or put them on Substack as an audio. Then it transcribes it for me and I just edit it. And then I put that out as a blog on Medium, for example, or on Substack, or, it automatically transfers to YouTube. So my writing now is mostly voice dictating, or I write something for a specific prompt on paper. But before I could just write for hours, no problem. Now my brain doesn't allow me to do that. As well as I cannot do Sudoku that I used to love to do. I cannot do Sudoku, but I can talk for hours,
Yeah.
so we just do the best we can.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about there because you reminded me of so many things about traumatic brain injury, and I want the traumatic brain injury awareness to be there. I have a friend here in DC who has it. I think Sonny had to split. It's 1:00, and quite often.
I was checking, and I do have to go. Man.
And I also have something coming up, but I did put the guy off a little bit. I just sent him a text to say, "Hey, I'm running over." But about traumatic brain injury, and traumatic things happening to us generally, it reminded me of Andy Warhol's the shooting of Andy Warhol. I don't know if you ever heard about his, the assassination attempt in '68 where he was shot by Valerie Solanas, but he felt that he had died, and he was seeing on the news the murder of RFK in Los Angeles that had happened, and getting confused with whether or not it would happen to him, and it was about his death.
Mhm.
And for a long time, he felt he had died. And indeed, I think a part of him did. And what did he do? Work. The factory, making art. And he continued doing that up until he died.
Making things, yes.
Surgery, sequelae. Yeah, but making things. And he was like driven by that so much. I worked at the Andy Warhol Museum for a while, sort of peripherally. I was in the Carnegie Museum of Art's conservation section, and we took care of the collection at the Andy Warhol Museum as well at those days. Now they have their own conservation section. I've seen, makes me jealous. Want to go back and work there, but maybe someday. Who knows?
You'd be an asset.
Well, thank you so much for being a part of this, Gabriella. Thank you, Sonny, for sticking with us here.
Thank you, Hal. Thank you for creating the platform.
We've had a pretty good round of folks, about 18. Well, considering we're 3, we've had 16 other people weighing in, a lot of content from Alexei Zaitsev as usual. Feel free to comment on this afterwards. We're going to publish it, of course, and we'll have you back. Okay?
Wonderful. It's so wonderful to meet both of you, and looking forward for future connections.
Yeah.
And amazing things we can do.
Thank you for including me, Hal. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for your time, Sonny. It's always a treasure, and I'll see you next Tuesday.
All right. Bye.
My calendar yet.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Take care. Out here.